What a time to be alive, right? Well, the Tshwane University of Technology is hosting its annual Future of Work 4IR Dialogue next week with over 300 thought leaders, researchers and participants. The two-day dialogue to be held at the Maslow Times Square at Menlyn, Maine, hopes to find practical solutions to fast-track the adoption of new technologies to improve inclusive economic growth in Africa, but also to foster a pathway for the integration of the fourth industrial revolution in tackling unemployment. But joining us to discuss this is Senior Director at the Institute for the Future of Work, Mr. Tseliso Mohlomi. Mr. Mohlomi, good morning to you. Good morning, Naledi.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
No, it's good to have you. I'm looking at the images of what Latasha put together there from Stellenbosch University, and I remember a time when people in South Africa were saying 4IR is coming, and now it's definitely here. But it's good to see that that conversation is taking place in South Africa. We're catching up, right?
Yeah, we're actually behind.
Okay.
Because now in the world, people have started talking about the fifth industrial revolution.
Gosh.
And as Africa, we have always been caught napping. However, we are in a process of catching up and probably leapfrogging the current scenarios.
Well, that's intimidating. What would be the fifth industrial revolution?
It's basically still more also about your machine learning, but at an advanced stage. Yes.
And talk to me about where we are then with our developments. I know that this dialogue is taking place on Monday. What it aims to, what you're hoping to see come out of those discussions for us? Yeah.
First, let me explain something. Tshwane University of Technology is the largest contact university in the country. We have about 60,000 students who would be attending classes on a daily basis. And one of the key problems that we identified as the university is what we call the graduate unemployment or employability due to the fourth industrial revolution. And the problem, actually, we have diagnosed it correctly, that over the years there have been a big chasm that has opened between academia and the industry. And therefore the university, through the Institute for the Future of Work, seek to close that gap to make sure that our curriculum is in line with what the industry want, and our curriculum is also in line with the technological trends around the world, so that when our graduates leave the university are employable. And we have been hosting the dialogue for the last, this is the third year that we are hosting. Okay. And we have been more looking internally to say that how do we get our house in order? How do we make ourselves competitive? And how do we put ourselves out there as a thought leader within the space of the fourth industrial revolution?
Yeah.
This year, we are then saying, let's look at the continent because we are part of Africa, and we are Africa. And therefore, the dialogue for this year, we are saying, let's look at the ways to collaborate where the industry, the government, academia, and the civil society will collaborate to make sure that Africa becomes, we have inclusive economic growth.
You know, I've said over and over again that I've noted that South Africans are still quite afraid of artificial intelligence, right? And there's this fear of what it can take away from us, and perhaps an understanding that's needed as to what it can contribute to our society and our daily lives. Perhaps you can touch on that, debate
Correct.
of to AI or not to. But I'm also quite interested in hearing about the innovations that we're producing here at home. We saw what Stellenbosch University is doing. Talk to us about some of our own innovators, projects that really stand out for you, because our contribution to the knowledge economy is huge.
Correct, yes. One of the things, once again, on the issue of African identity, some people tend to think that we are backward. But I still believe that as a continent, we are actually at the epitome of knowledge.
You mean AI?
Yeah, in almost everything, from the scholastic perspective and everything. And therefore, the dialogue is basically saying, let's bring all this talent under the roof. Let's discuss how we can actually make Africa prosper. Now, on the issue of artificial intelligence, artificial intelligence is artificial, as it says. It's basically the machines mimicking human behavior, repetitive tasks. And should we be scared of it? No. Is AI a friend? Yes. And so at the dialogue, we're going to actually be looking at, for example, the issue around AI and within the context of African indigenous knowledge. And one of the renowned speakers who will be there is Prof. Marivati, who will be talking about capacitating Africa to develop indigenous knowledge. And therefore, artificial intelligence, what we need to be doing is an issue of us making sure that it serves the African needs.
Yes.
And from the perspective of the solutions that we have created, one of the things that have been created in Tshwane is a drone that uses artificial intelligence to assess the crops and to even spray the crops.
Incredible.
And it would give you all the analytics of that.
Yes, that's beautiful work and very important also for the sake of our agricultural sector.
Correct.
You talk about AI and the future, 4IR, maybe even 5IR, as you say,
yes,
needing to meet African problems. And I think that's such an important thing. But it requires the input of African content, correct?
Yes.
I mean, I look, for instance, at the knowledge that AI has about the Western and even the East, but certainly very little about Africa, South Africa, and even just, the features of our face, for instance.
Correct. Yeah, look, some of the things that we're going to be looking at the dialogue is, one, looking at how do we protect African IP. There's a lot of things that have been conceptualized by Africans, which are supposed to serve Africans, but they were never protected. And so one of the sessions will be saying, how do we protect those IPs? And earlier when I came, you were talking about the informal sector. One of the things that we will be looking is an issue of using the technology to capacitate and assist in the informal sector to be leapfrogged. Yeah,
important. So tell us, who's going to be speaking at the dialogue? How do we get ourselves into the room?
For getting yourself into the room, you go to our webpage, www.ifow.ac.za. And some of the speakers that we are going to be having at the dialogue, one of them is our professor, the Vice Chancellor, Prof. Dinyoko Maluleka.
Yes.
We will have Dr. Geraldine Fraser-Muleketi. We will have Prof. Marivati. We will be having former CEO of General Electric, Nyimpini Mabunda. And many other speakers.
Yeah, incredible speakers as well.
Correct.
That have been watching the economy and also thought leadership in South Africa very, very closely. Mr. Mohlomi, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the studio with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Naledi.
And all the best with this really important dialogue that looks into the future of work for South Africa as we move into 4IR and beyond. Mr. Mohlomi saying that in other parts of the world, they're already talking about the fifth Industrial Revolution. Tseliso Mohlomi is, of course, the Senior Director at the Institute for the Future of Work.